How to monitor a nest box. Building and placing a nest box brings responsibility. When I'm monitoring my nest box, I'm going to be checking for 3 things that will be giving me information. The first one is what nesting materials inside of the box. The nesting materials such as pine needles, which would be typical for bluebirds, or sticks, which is typical for wrens, or moss, which would be typical for a chickadee, tells me, without seeing the bird, who has decided to make a nest in that box. Also, the eggs that are in the box, what do they look like? Are they a particular color? If they're a powder blue, it's probably a bluebird. If they are speckled, it means it might be a different bird. So you would want to look at the eggs and even the egg size to make sure that you have a good idea of who's in your nest box. And then the third thing I look for is how many chicks are there if the eggs have hatched. What do those chicks look like? Those are all things that I take into account when I check my nest boxes. Here's an example of one of our Bluebird Society's monitors. And what she does, she has a tool belt on, and in the tool belt, you'll see pictures of things that she may need while she is monitoring. For instance, there might be screwdrivers, there might be pliers. She's holding a can of lubricant if she needs to spray the pole, or if one of the screws is too tight. She can use this while she's monitoring, so she has the supplies that she needs. When approaching a nest box, you want to go slowly. You want to tap on the box so that if the mom is on the nest, she'll fly out. And if nothing flies out, then you can open the box, look inside, make sure everything looks okay, there aren't any bees' nests or anything doesn't look out of sort. And then close the box securely, make sure it's latched correctly, and then walk away from the box. Stand by the side of the box, tap gently, allow the mother to leave, peek inside the box, make sure that the box is closed before leaving. Monitoring etiquette: if you find a bird on the nest, close the door and walk away. It's always a good idea to number your boxes if you're monitoring a trail. It's very important to record what you see inside the nest box and date it, so the next time you check your nest boxes, you'll know what was there the week before. Both of these forms can be found on www.thebsp.org website. The weekly record keeping form allows you to add information that you saw in that particular box that particular day, and then the next week you can fill it in again so you can see the progress of what's going on in your individual boxes. The yearly record, you record the different nesting, how many successful nestings you've had for bluebirds or for chickadees, and you add in sparrow problems and so forth. And that particular form is sent to Shirley Hawk. If you have been record keeping, you will know approximately how old your babies are in the box. Do not open the box knowing that you have babies in it if they are 12 days old to 16 days old, because that's when they're going to be fledging, and opening the box could spook them and they could fledge prematurely. which cuts down on their possibility for survival. When monitoring Nestbox, don't stand around the box with a group of people after monitoring is completed, because the mom and the dad have been watching you this whole time, and you are preventing them from going back to their babies and checking on them. So move away when you're finished. If you want to talk, just move out of the area. It's really important that you clean out the nest box after the fledglings leave to prevent this from happening. Notice how high the nest is. This is because the nest wasn't cleaned on the bottom and the bird came back and built a nest on top, which meant that the hole is near the top of the nest, which means it would be very easy for a predator to reach his arm in and take any eggs or babies. We want the nest to be low in the nest box. When you're monitoring, it's really important for you to look and notice things. Is there anything unusual in your nesting box? The left-hand picture is a picture I took, and you'll see that one of the bluebirds has white feathers. The others are dark. That tells me that something unusual is in that box. It's either going to be an albino bluebird or it's going to be a leucistic bluebird. You can also see a mouse. Sometimes there are mice that winter in your box, and in the spring when you're emptying your boxes out, checking to make sure they're okay, you want to make sure you don't have any mice in there. And then the picture on the right side is actually a flying squirrel. Flying squirrels also use our nest boxes, and you want to make sure that you clean all that out. When you're monitoring, often you come across ants in a nest box. Bluebirds will not nest in an ant-infested box. Sometimes the ants come after the nest is built. So here are some things that you can do. You can apply ant killer near the bottom of the pole to prevent the ants from climbing up the pole. You can use taro as another solution. In some cases, you have to remove the nest and put a new nest, if you have one, in its place. Brush out all the ants, get rid of that nest that has ants in it, and carefully put the babies into a new bluebird nest, and then put the nest back into the box. Sometimes when you're monitoring, you'll come across a wasp nest. Picture on the left, that box has not been monitored in a very long time. But a trick to prevent wasps from making a nest is to smear ivory soap, the bar of ivory soap, on the underside of the roof in the spring. Wasps can't attach their nest then. Sometimes when you're monitoring, you'll come across a hornet's nest. Never spray chemicals inside a nest box when there are babies in there. Another thing that you might come across are something called blowflies. If you see them, you need to sweep out the box. If the nest is extremely wet, you may need to replace it with a dry one. Do this by carefully removing the young birds and putting them on a towel in a small, shallow box. Get some dry grass and fashion it into a nest about 2 inches high. Put the nest back in the box and replace the young. Here are a few reasons that nests fail. Predators, competitors, humans, and the climate. This is a predator of the bluebirds and all songbirds. This is a house sparrow, a non-native bird to the United States. You can recognize their nest because it looks like trash has been put into it. You'll find string, you'll find cigarette butts, you'll find all kinds of debris that the bird has picked up and shoved in his house. They're very aggressive birds. They will peck holes in eggs. They will throw babies out of the nest, and they will kill the parents. The mom, if she is sitting on the nest, can be killed by this house sparrow. This slide represents what happens if you allow just one pair of sparrows in one nest box to multiply. In 5 years, 738,100 sparrows will be born and will have been let loose in our environment. The house wren is another enemy of songbirds. The house wren will fill multiple boxes with sticks, and then the male will bring the female, and she decides which box she wants. In the meantime, 8 boxes with sticks may have been taken up, and only one of those boxes will actually have a wren's nest in it. These are native birds, so you cannot take a nest out of the nest box. Notice that the wren will take bluebird eggs and will pierce the eggs, killing the embryos inside of the eggs, and will throw them on the ground so that the bluebird can't have that particular box, or other songbirds cannot have that particular box. A few other predators of songbirds and bluebirds are snakes and raccoons, which will steal the eggs. The raccoon will reach his arm in and take babies out, as well as eggs, and will eat them. So you should use predator guards to prevent this from happening. Another predator of songbirds are house cats, cats that live inside and are fed by their owners. They kill 40 million songbirds in just 1 year. We usually don't think of flying squirrels as living in nest boxes or hurting songbirds, but they do. They will go in, they will eat the eggs, they will kill the babies. So they are predators as well. Flying squirrels in the state of Pennsylvania are protected. Weather plays a big factor in the survival rate of our songbirds. If a nest is made in early spring, it might be too cold. Or if there's a lot of rain, there's a possibility the roof could leak, the sides, and you can have a wet nest. In the latter part of the summer, it's sweltering heat that might determine the survival of the bluebirds. This is humanity at its worst. Vandalism of boxes with babies inside. We are stewards of nature, and it's our responsibility to help the creatures that live on this earth any way that we can. And through your efforts, you might be able to witness this. A mom and a dad and fledglings that you had a hand in helping to survive because you knew how to monitor your boxes correctly.